bring you headlines from different newspapers and then take our conversations from a major talking point as captured by these very newspapers. My name is Franklin Ebeka, and I'm not always alone on the program because I do have my colleagues who fly with me, Tono Disambeki and Chison Chinedu. And today, all of us are going to bring you those developments as they have been reported by these various newspapers. And this very morning, different stories are making into the headlines. And of course, if you check the papers, you will see that what is happening in Katsina State is making headlines. We know that for some days now, there have been this outrage over plan by Katsina State government to release 17 bandits in what they called peace plan. And it's making headline this very morning, and people are saying, is this the way to go if we are going to tame banditry in Nigeria? Then the story of the governor of Kano State visiting President Bola Ahmed Tinubu amid defection talks is also making headlines. And don't forget that the Kano State governor wants to move to the APC, but it has divided the Pamkwasiya group because Rabiu Pamkwaso, who is the leader, is not at home with that very plan. And we learned that that plan for him to defect was bought because he has not been able to secure the kind of assurance he needed before he defects. So you can see that on paper this very morning. Then yesterday, Showore was in court, but guess what? That yesterday, the federal government struck out the charge against Meta and what have you not. So only Showore has a case to answer now in that very suit which was filed by the federal government. And also in the news is the story about a young man who was alleged to have led some guys to go to wipe out a family of 5 in Kano State. Yesterday, the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, waded into that very issue, and he gave the directive that everybody responsible for that dastardly killing should be brought to book. It's making headlines this very morning on the front pages of newspapers. And then there is this very big story, which is about the confusion over alleged kidnap of 172 worshippers in 3 Kaduna churches. Why some persons are claiming that 172 persons were kidnapped in 3 churches in Kaduna State. Kaduna government has maintained that nobody was kidnapped. Likewise, police in that very state, they are saying the same thing. And guess what? This story has transcended beyond boundaries. It's no longer trending here in Nigeria because across the border, it's getting attention. In fact, this very morning before I came to work, I got a call from Alexandra of a Power FM in South Africa, trying to make inquiries about this report we're talking about this very morning. And also, DSS rearresting Malami is also making headlines this very morning. So plenty of them we are going to talk about. And guess what? The former governor of Ebonyi State, Dave Umahi, who is now Minister for Work, is also in the news because his son has procured nomination form because he wants to vie for chairmanship position in Ebonyi State. And people are asking questions whether we're now practicing dynastic rule in Nigeria. We're going to bring all these things to fore by the time we begin our conversation. Like I told you, that I'm not alone. I don't know, Sambeki makes it good morning.
Good morning. Okay. Good morning. The good people of Southeast, good morning. The good people of Anambra State. The Onitsha. The Osubo. Good morning, everyone. Under the reach of our voice, a very beautiful Tuesday morning, and today being the 20th of January 2026, and we thank Almighty God for His mercies, for His forgiveness of sins, and for abiding with us at all times, despite our failings, despite our not meeting up to the rules and principles He has given unto us. He keeps forgiving, He keeps being merciful, He keeps providing, He keeps protecting us. We thank Him for everything. And just like you said, a lot is actually going on. And you could also understand that I had a one-on-one or discussions with the Kambiri team. Frankly, you could not believe it. I followed their discussion and it was very interesting. But then I was able to, point just 1 or 2 or 3 things about man beating the wife and what have you. And then I really did tell them that they were concerned about the symptoms, that they did not address the cause. Whenever there is a disease. Disease gives symptoms, gives effects. And if you start treating the symptoms and effects, you have not treated that disease. So if you want to treat any ailment, what do? You treat the cause, not symptoms, because once you treat the cause, the symptoms will fizzle out on their way. And that brings me to what I told them, that basically the two major issues in situations like this are basically, one, disrespect, and man failing in his responsibilities. These are majorly, if you aggregate all the problems between a man and a woman in a marriage, 80% to 85% of those problems centers around disrespect. And the other one has to do with, two of them centers around disrespect and man failing in his responsibilities. Then the remaining 15 or 20 would be issues of infidelity and then other things associated with marriage. And I have said that if you do not treat the issue of disrespect and trying to say, man, you should not do this, you should, how long would he endure? Nobody endures anything forever. Nobody endures. And when you think that over time the person in question, maybe the woman, will change and all that, and what if it does not, or what if she does not, what happens? See, we must call a spade in our society. And I've said that any woman who, for one reason or the other, knows very well that you cannot respect a man in a marriage, you do not deserve to be in that marriage. I said it to them. You cannot. If you're following Quran, if you're following Bible, if you're following Omenana, these are cardinal foundations. It's just like being a reverend father, but you don't want to be celibate. How can you be a reverend father and go and marry? It is this celibacy is a cardinal thing of you must profess. So we must start by telling women, yes, the men sometimes they do not do things expected. Many men abdicate their responsibilities, leave the responsibility to women to the point that they become heavy on women and aggravate the women and make the women to be so much anger to burst. Sometimes when anger is somehow over time endured, there will be explosion. So whatever you keep enduring, know very one day that there could be explosion. So it is better we start treating those symptoms. So if you're a mother, if you're a husband, if you are a society leader, let's preach to our men to take their responsibilities in marriage. Let us also tell our women it is a no for you to disrespect a man, because the issue of disrespect generally contributes to all this beating. Beating is a symptom. Fighting is a symptom. You don't go and start talking about how good a symptom is or how bad a symptom is without addressing the foundation. That was the point. And I had that very one-on-one discussion with them, and they were all laughing. So let's always address the foundation of everything, not trying to tell ourselves symptoms are good, these symptoms are bad. Symptoms can always be symptoms once the foundation is wrong. That was exactly my conversation with them this morning.
Okay, so because I think it boils down to understanding certain realities and the norms, because one thing about this very life these days, there are certain things that have been designed by nature.
Exactly.
Certain things have also been designed by the beliefs we share.
Exactly.
And because if you understand these very things, it will help us to know how to relate to one another.
Definitely, frankly.
What that was last week that I was away from program because I had to attend a training.
Yeah.
And that training was all about positive masculinity. How can men help women, and how can women help men, so that we can reduce and curb gender-based violence.
Yeah.
And this issue of gender roles, how is being constructed by society and what have you not. Everything came up, there were debate and what have you not. But one cardinal thing that we were able to pin down is the fact that if you understand certain realities, if you understand your belief system, if you understand your norms,
exactly,
that helps you
culture
to know how to approach things.
Definitely.
Now, as a man, you a man, but being a man, you have to exhibit your masculinity in a very positive way that is going to show inclusivity and
definitely it must.
Then the woman should also understand that this is the way this thing has been designed. then I can't work it.
I kept backward. Another thing I said,
mentality.
Another thing I also discussed with him, I told him, anybody that comes to tell you that marriage has no formula, the person is not being economical with the truth. Everything in nature has formula. Everything in nature, for you to be rich, there are principles that you have to keep. For you to be wealthy, there are principles. For you to be a graduate, for you to study this, for you to study that, there are principles. In fact, even in heaven, there is principle. On earth, there is principle. Marriage has formula, has principles. Once you apply those principles, when we talk about a man taking responsibility, a woman respecting this, complementarity, support, these are principles, these are formulas. Just apply them. Let no one come. And then another thing I also said is this: respect is customary based on where we come from. Some people will tell you respect is earned. What is earning something? Earning something is when you either invest in something emotionally, physically, or you put in something you expect return. Or even when you don't expect return.
There's an invention of.
They will tell you people it's customary.
There's an invention by people who have misconstrued what feminism is all about. Because I think that's one of the foundations of what have put some women into misunderstanding what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Because some persons have come to misconstrue feminism as, going all out there. Anywhere you go, man is nothing, woman is this. That is not feminism. If you follow those who invented even this feminism, you understand the concept they are trying to put. The concept is this: if a man gets opportunity a woman should also be able to get opportunity A.
Yeah.
That is the concept they are
definitely.
But people who misunderstand,
they change it. The concept of you are correct, Franklin. The concept of feminism support woman to become that which she desires to. You know very well we add up. Let's support our women. Let them become president. Let them become governor. Let them become anything. And whatever a man can attain the height, no matter what, the height a man can attain in life, a woman can also attain the same height. That is the concept of feminism. So you not just because of gender obstruct woman's ascendancy or attaining a particular height. That's the concept. But they have changed everything upside down. That these days feminism means a woman disrespecting a man, telling a man you are nothing, that whatever you can do, we can do it. There was a time we discussed that there are things men can do, women cannot do. There are things women can do, man cannot do. Man cannot give birth. Man cannot deliver any baby. There are things, these are things, there are roles, there are gender roles. But we must approach them from the angle of inclusivity, complementarity, support, and care, and even love. So we must always speak truth to power. Let's always address cause instead of symptoms of what we may call, whether the symptom is good or the symptom is bad. These things are symptomatic. Some of these things discussed, there are symptoms. Let's address the root cause. Okay, so we just gave you an appetizer before we get into what I had this very morning. Just to let you know that we are live on our Facebook page, Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Just get on that very page, you see the video, it's already up, and as well, don't forget that you have a chance to drop your comment on that very video and also share, like, and follow. They are very, very important. Then on our YouTube channel and on Instagram, we are Udala Radio. You can also get interactive on these platforms. Okay, so they're all there for us to deepen conversation with you. So this morning we have 4 newspapers we have to attend to. Right before then,
you're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, so we have a 4 newspaper this very morning for us to bring the headlines. By the way, you're listening to the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. And this morning we have the Tribune, a newspaper, Vanguard, Guardian, and the Punch. And we'll begin with the headlines we have on Tribune newspaper. The banner headline here says DSS arrests Malami after release from Kuje prison. The story in some page 4. In fact, about 7 days ago, thereabout, he alleged that there was plot to rearrest him by the time he secures his bail, and it happened yesterday. I think it was his son who was rearrested first, but this time around, DSS is saying that he wasn't rearrested on the same offense. Rather, there were some petitions on terrorist financing leveled against him, so they have to investigate that and ensure that he clears himself of those allegations. Then above the nameplate, we have two headlines there. IMF reduced Nigeria's 2026 growth forecast to 4.4%. You can see the story on page 5. Alleged abduction of 100 worshippers. No one was kidnapped in Kaduna. Police LG chairman say. The story is on page 25. Alleged cyberbullying. Police files 6-count charge against Toun Onajobi. Remands doctor for issuing an alleged fake report for her. The story is on page 21. Amid defection moves, Kano governor visits Tinubu in Abuja. The story is on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune. FG denies citing gold refinery in Lagos. The story is on page 2. Ondo judicial crisis deepens as budget cuts. Autonomy disputes paralyze courts. Check page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune. Then on the health sector, the headline here says brain diseases on the rise, but prevention cure missing in Nigeria. Who is saying so? A neurologist is the one saying so. You can see this story on page 20 of the Nigerian Tribune. And the final headline we can take on this front page says Ekiti poll, PDP, SDP missing. INEC clears APC, 11 others in final candidates list. The story is on page 15, and it boils down to the crisis the parties have. That's why they have been excluded from that very list. And over to Vanguard newspaper. The front page or the banner screaming headline here says confusion over alleged kidnap of 172 worshippers in 3 Kaduna churches. The story is on page 5. It has riders, sad development, but we will not give up, says Northern Khan. Adds 172 were said to have been kidnapped. 9 escaped. No one was kidnapped in Kajuru, says police. Council chair. Abduction exposes grave security failure, PDP. Then this one says there was never an Igbo coup. Raf Obioha is the one saying so on page 16. So I think on Saturday he talked about that very coup of 1966. That was on Saturday before your program. Okay. Impeachment. Pandev reconciliation panel concludes reverse engagement. Returns to Abuja. The story is on page 12 of Vanguard newspaper. DSS arrests Malami after release from Kuje prison. The story is on page 29. IMF upgrades Nigeria's 2026 growth outlook to 4.4%. The story is on page 19. And another one says tanker accident in Lagos. You see the picture story there. I wish they mentioned it that there was a tanker fall and people were scooping petrol. So you can see the story on the front page of Vanguard this very morning. Kano. Governor Yusuf meets Tinubu, defects to APC today. We're going to watch this piece and see whether it's going to happen or not. He has a rider. Governor keeps mum after meeting at Aso Rock. The story is on page 26. We learned that Governor Yusuf was asking that he should be given an assurance that he would get an automatic ticket for him to run for second term. And not just an assurance, but it should be written down. It should be in black and white so that he can keep it for tomorrow. So let's see whether he's going to make that defection today or whether it's going to be delayed for some days. Massacre of Christians. What we told the New York Times bureau chief McLean Inter-Society. So Tony, we are going to look at this because in fact this very morning I made a frantic effort to reach out to Emeku Mabalasi so that he can join us on this very show and make some clarifications regarding what has been trending. But I haven't gotten any confirmation from him yet. If he comes while we're doing the show, of course we're going to put it in live on this very program. Songolu signs 4.4 trillion naira budget. The story is on page 10. Anti-Tinubu post. FG amend charges against Shore. Deletes Facebook X. The story is on page 9 of Vanguard newspaper. And We cross over to the Guardian. Guardian has plenty headlines, and one of them says 1 year after 50% telco tariff hike leaves operators happier, consumers frustrated. You can see two divides of the coin. They're not in the because the telcos are smiling to the banks, while consumers are frustrated because these days, if you recharge 1,000 naira, wants to make one call or two calls and do data, everything is gone. Then over to another headline here on page 30 of the Guardian newspaper. Says FCTA kicks as workers begin indefinite strike. That was yesterday. FG contractors on war path over 4 trillion naira debt. The story is on page 3. I don't know how long these guys are going to protest before they are paid. It wasn't in December that Mr. President gave an order that they should be paid, and I learned that it was captured in 2026 budget. So why are these guys still protesting? Does it mean that they have not gotten that assurance that they are going to be paid? Because if they have been assured very well that their concerns or their debts have been taken care of in the budget, of course they might go to bed hoping that it's going to come to fruition. But since they have continued to protest, maybe communication has not been served right, or they do not believe what the government has been saying. PDP decries insecurity as Kaduna denies abduction of 163 worshippers. The story is on page 3 of the Guardian. IMF aligns with World Bank on Nigeria's 4.4% growth projection is on business page of the Guardian, which is at page 15. FG to appeal judgments on attacks against journalists. Check page 4 of the Guardian. Court strikes at Meta X as FG rearrange Shore on amended cyberbullying charges. The story is on page 30. Police Mart invest $60 million in Nigeria's largest plastic recycling plant. The story is on page 8, and that explains why you see them on the street. They go to any kind of refuse bin looking for plastic because they make money from that. But what actually irks me is that some of these people who pick up this very plastic from refuse dumps, they use it to process what we eat. Those things we buy in the market to drink, the zobos, the soya milk, and what have you, not and others. And I don't know how hygienic it is to pick up those things and use them for what people consume. Kano killings. Tinubu others probe as state takes on over prosecution. The story is on page 30. And Anthony, guess what? The father of the young man who has been arrested on allegation that he was the one that led those who went to kill the family, the father said, kill him without wasting time. So I don't know what his belief is on. APC closes in on Kano as state chairman hopeful of Yusuf's defection. The story is on page 6. And the last headline on the front page of the Guardian says, Sanwo-Olu signs 2026 4.4 trillion naira budget into law. That story is on page 7 of the Guardian newspaper. So we have to look at the final paper this morning before we get to begin our conversations. And that paper is the Punch beside the nameplate. This one says, the job scam syndicate luring Nigerians into Ukraine-Russia war. The story is on pages 18 and 19. Amnesty deal outrage mounts as Castina moves to release 70 bandits. The story is on page 2. It has a rider. Tinubu told to stop release of bandits on trial. ACF Afenifera that slam Castina government over amnesty deal. VSS arrests Malami after release from Kuje prison. The story is on page 7. Banks record rising loan default amid strong demand. CBN. The story is on page 23. Ekiti poll. PDP SDP rejects exclusion from INEC final list. The story is on page 7. And FG votes 10 million naira for Abuja runway after scrapping 532 billion naira deal. The story is on page 23. Kano government meets Tinubu amid defection talks. It's on page 10. And the last headline says, military discovers Boko Haram underground storage fuel dump. The story is on page 3. And these are the headlines we have this morning.
listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
And of course, you are listening to The Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. My name is Franklin Lebik, I'm with Dr. Tony Sambeki this very morning. We are going to bring you the analysis from the headlines we have read out this very morning. And Tony, let's begin from the economic point of view based on the headlines regarding the projection made by IMF. But I have to begin this very way because I came across something that made me to think and ponder about how economically we have deteriorated as a nation. And that made me to say, okay, it could be easy for someone to find a simple reason why millions of Nigerians keep falling into poverty every year. I came across two receipts used to buy certain household items in 2026 and in 2020. Now, the first one was in 2020 and second one was in 2026. Now, these receipts showed, how the value of Naira or its purchasing power, has depreciated very significantly just within 6 years. Now, these receipts showed how 31 different items purchased at a total cost of 25,225 naira in 2020 were purchased on January 16, 2026 in the same city at the cost of 147 naira 50 kobo. If you are going to run the percentage, it's a staggering 582% increase. And I was asking myself, how are Nigerians surviving? Items that you purchased for 25,225 naira in 2020. 6 years after, the same items, 30 of them were purchased at 147,050 naira. And it brings me to the headline about IMF, which has made a forecast that Nigeria economy is going to grow by 4.4% in 2026, and that aligns with what the World Bank has said. In fact, the Nigerian government has also projected that it's going to grow. And each time government talks about what it's doing, it tells you that the economy is growing, the economy is rebounding, we're recording increment in foreign reserve, recording change in macroeconomics and what have you not. But when you begin to contrast it, look at the life of Nigerians, look at how Nigerians live, and look at how we keep on borrowing and what have you not, you might be at a loss on how to reconcile all these variables. So, Tony, how do we start?
We are back to where we are before now. You raised these issues from different approaches. One, we started by saying some items bought some years back. Now, the prices have gone so high, and that tells you that we have inflation. I think the headline inflation is about 15%. And you also raise other issues, the IMF growth. And let me also say this: it's important that whenever we talk about economic growth, we must differentiate it from economic development. Both of them are not same, and we are talking about the growth. And most times when we hear all these growths, many questions are asked about how do these growths affect the living standard of an average Nigerian. Yes, it's no more news that IMF has come up with its own assessment. They projected our economy, or the Nigeria's economy, according to them, is projected to grow about 4.4% in 2026. But they say that it's going to be as a result of ongoing reforms, improved fiscal coordination, and stronger macroeconomic stability. These are reasons they gave. But let me also give the foundation. Economic growth refers to the increase in a country's output, that is GDP, the total market value of all the finished goods produced in a country within a specific period of time, especially within a year, that is GDP. And it is also used to say that is the size of your economy. So when we talk about economic growth, we are talking about the increase in GDP, essentially. Why economic development is broader, focusing on improvements in living standards, health, education, welfare. So concerns have been on economic growth, not economic development. Just like I said earlier on, growth essentially talks about increase in GDP. Development talks about improvements in living standards, health, education, and welfare. But both the IMF and World Bank, remember, they are owned by their member countries. The IMF is in Bretton Woods, same with World Banks, and United States of America control the majority when it comes to voting rights and so many things, because they invested more than any other country in IMF and World Bank. Sometimes policies and programs that come from these two institutions, I see these programs and policies coming from United States of America, because they have the influence, the control of these institutions. And I know very well that IMF usually calculates growth figures using GDP data from national statistics and models they publish in its World Economic Outlook. Before now, IMF had stated that the growth projection for GDP will be 4.2%, but they have upgraded it from 4.2% to 4.4%. So that's why we are discussing about it, the adjustment. So they said, just like I said before, they cited the reforms going on by the government. They also cited fiscal coordination and macroeconomic stability. When you talk about fiscal coordination, it's all about tax revenue and how these tax revenues are spent, where they are being spent on, or what they are being spent on. So fiscal policy, we have always known, is all about the policy coordination on how to increase especially tax revenue or revenue of government, and how government also spends its money on critical areas. So there, according to them, there seems to be such coordination. And when you talk about macroeconomic stability, it seems that because we have micro, medium, even small, micro, medium, and macro, enterprises. The macro is the bigger one. Where we look at our stock market, we are told that the capitalization and the all share index and so many other things are turning positive. There was one celebrated that Nigeria has never reached such market capitalization for how many years? I can't recall a number of years. We are told that the market capitalization in our exchange group, because that's what it's called, that we have not got to that level for a very long time. So for IMF as an institution, they see that as more like a stability in our macroeconomics, in our activities, and also resilience in private sector activity, and also regional recovery trends in sub-Saharan Africa. So these are basically some of these things. IMF, we know very well that, just like I said earlier on, about 190 countries own IMF, but United States of America has the majority stake, and it has the highest voting power. Essentially, the same applies to World Bank. I've said it many times. So you find out they give out money to developing countries, underdeveloped countries at a particular interest. They do business, they run business, they borrow you this money, and they also outline how this money is to be used. They give you conditions, they give you terms, and they also conscript you on where to put in the money, where you paid it. See, perhaps, by the way, I'm even stretching it anyway.
Yes, let's go to the other side, because if you look at what IMF is projecting, they said a lot is going to depend on energy prices in 2026, and of course we know how it's been. There has been this volatility. Maybe today the price goes up, tomorrow it goes down. And the ones who have anything about Russia, Venezuela, Iran, and what have you not, it has a way of impacting the price of energy in the international market, and of course it affects what Nigeria earns. And in this very case, I am saying a lot is going to depend on this. But for me, where I have this very major concern is each time we talk about this very economic growth, and of course government will always use it to say that they are doing something, and like these economic growth translate to economic development and have impact on living standard of the people. How do we step this thing down so that people will begin to feel the impact? Now today, you call somebody in UK, and person tells you that with £50, he was able to live for a couple of weeks And you begin to ask yourself, 50 pounds, it's not like 50 naira in Nigeria. If I just carry 50 naira, what I use to buy? Only such a what I use to buy for Nigeria. But 50 pounds in UK, somebody lives on 50 pounds for some weeks. So how do we translate all these things into making impact on our economy, whereby people will be able to feel it? And it's okay, things are getting better. We are resetting to what we were known for initially.
Economic wise, or if you are to speak economically, for us to get these things cascaded to real economic development, because we're talking about economic growth, and economic growth without proper development makes no meaning to the generality of the people, and especially the Nigerians, because Nigerians, they want to see growth. Nigerians want to see growth, and then anything outside that, if you tell them any jargon, any patois, they will tell you that they are not interested in that. So the key thing is, how do we do what you asked? Government must get its fiscal policies right, and there will be this coordination between the monetary policy of the government and also the fiscal policy of the government. And we know very well that the monetary policy is handled by the Central Bank of Nigeria, or the Reserve Bank of any country, through a number of measures. We've seen measures like the MPR, the liquidity ratio, the cash reserve ratio, the asymmetrical corridor, and so many things. These are different measures the Central Bank of Nigeria tried to stimulate the economy using monetary policies. And we've just said now that government on its own part would also find a way to ensure there is coordination, that they remain on the same page, that the monetary policy of CBN and also the fiscal policy of the government, they remain on the same page. We must start to invest in these areas. We must start to invest in health. We must start to invest in education. We must also start to invest in the welfare of Nigerians. We must also start to invest in critical areas. We have got arable lands. Agriculture has a long value chain. There are so many things. Most of the things we import, the raw materials are taken from Africa, Nigeria. Many people will tell you that even the chocolate, the burger, so many things, they are gotten from cocoa. We've not got these companies working here. They are not registered here. People working there. Government must create avenue for macroeconomic activities, not majorly on the issue of capital market alone. We are looking at industrial revolution in Nigeria, and you can also power that industrial revolution through fixing your energy crisis. If we fix energy crisis or invest in our energy sector, let's put it that way, with its attendant results, we delve into agriculture. I have explained this many times. You won't believe it. A country like Netherlands makes over $100 billion from agricultural exports. And I have also argued in the same Netherlands, the size of that country is not bigger than Niger State, or approximately the same thing with Niger State. But if a country with approximately the same size as Niger State can make agricultural exports of over $100 billion, it tells you a lot, because a lot will be used. The revenue we generate from taxation, from how does government invest in critical areas? Where do government spend on? It's not about trying to construct roads, trying to put one infrastructure or the other. We know very well that we have infrastructural deficits. Of course, we've been told that we need over $30 trillion to fix our infrastructural gap. But remember one thing, United States of America, their GDP is not even up to that $30 trillion anyway. They have a GDP of about $25 trillion. So the point I'm trying to make here is this: let's see ways we can invest in the welfare of Nigerians, and also find good policies that we stimulate household incomes, eradicate unemployment by opening up a lot of moribund sectors. Look at textiles industry, it is purely comatose. If you go to service sector, look at insurance industry. There are so many industries that are comatose, that are not even breathing at all. They have been, in fact, deoxygenated. They are not working. Government must find ways to activate these sectors as against the policies that are dangling up and down, which these policies have not affected the lives of ordinary Nigerians. We must take serious. And for me, and I always propose, we must make our chapter 2 justiciable. When government fails to provide road, provide those critical infrastructures, Nigerians should take government to court, because they have, if I pay taxes for provisions of this, and where you fell and you said I cannot take you to court, that is more like robbing Peter to pay Paul, and it makes no sense.
All right. And interestingly, the Netherlands you mentioned for a long while has been in control of dairy products, and they're not looking back.
You see it? You see, and if that tells you a lot. And look at just other countries in the world. Nigeria, with its size, we've got the arable lands we've got. What do we do with these lands? Nigeria should be the powerhouse. I've said it many times. Nigeria should be good enough to feed entire Africa.
Okay. So
It should be good enough to feed entire Africa. Pure mechanization. And I don't know why we are derailing. I don't know why government, though they do think in those areas, but they lack proper investment. These are things you can borrow money and invest in. Borrow money. That's the need for borrowing, not the kind of borrowing we are witnessing, the ones we are seeing currently, where we borrow for our lifestyle, for our flamboyant spendings, and the things that are inanities.
okay.
See,
So Tony, that's one headline we omitted when we were reading out the headlines
Okay.
on Vanguard newspaper. It says Omahi's son Osborne picks APC chairmanship phone in a Ebonyi state, and that takes us to this very conversation. Because the story is that Osborne, who happens to be the president of the Minister of Works and former governor of Ebonyi State, Engineer David Umahi, he has picked up the APC nomination form to contest the chairmanship position in Ebonyi State, and he's going for the Ohazara local government area. Of course, we know that Ebonyi State is going to conduct local government election on August 22nd, 2026. And parties are now getting prepared for that very election. Parties have begun sale of form for the primaries, and two things have stood out from what we have seen so far. The day the son of the governor went to pick up his form, there was this massive crowd that followed him, to the point that even government functionaries were speaking on his behalf. Because after picking his form, he declined to talk to the press. But we saw government functionaries speaking on his behalf, saying that this is the chief of the old block that is going to replicate whatever wonders his father did as a governor in that very state. And we also gathered that the governor of that very state, Francis Nwifuru, who's by the way a benefactor of let me put it the very way, a beneficiary of political magnanimity of Umahi, that he has blessed this very mission. So in that very case, it's as good as mission accomplished. Now, are we beginning to see the trend of dynasty where a politician, when he thinks that there could be an end of his political era, and next thing is to groom his son, who can come in and take after him? We have Wiki as an example. We have the Carlos as an example, and so many others whom we can cite as examples. Then second thing about what is playing out in the Ebonyi now is that APC keeping the price of the form at 30 million naira for local government election for chairmanship position. How many youths will be able to afford this to be able to contest and show that they are part of what we do and they are part of the future we're talking about, Tony?
it's quite very astonishing when I got the report that APC Ebonyi State has lapped out 30 million for nomination form for any aspiring candidate or any aspiring participant in that local government poll. It is disturbing. I have said it many times. It is very lugubrious, very, very disturbing, and it has shown quite a lot of things in our political system. For many people who believe in the system, who would want to be given a space or to be given a chance in the system, those people it is quite demoralizing, dispiriting. For those who have put in their efforts in helping the cause of the party, it is quite daunting, dismaying, and crushing for them. They have done so well, but they cannot afford 30 million. So it is funeral, quite dolorous, morose, elegiac for such action of the APC in Ebonyi State. Woe be gone. APC is somehow very sad, just like I said earlier on. Now, I know this young man, Osborn Mweze Umahi, the first son of David Umahi, the current minister of works and the former governor of Ebonyi State. Well, for people who are close to Osborn, they know him as an entrepreneur. He ran some philanthropic work, but he has never been a career politician. I'm aware that he studied abroad. He attended the University of Coventry in United Kingdom. I think there was another university he attended before that of Coventry, and he actually has shown closeness with his father. So I'm aware that, okay, I think the University of Surrey, if I can remember that, is where he studied civil engineering like his father. And then he did his master's in finance and investment in the University of Coventry. Yes, the young man is into hospitality and luxury resort management. He's the CEO of Osborn Lapam Resorts and Hotel. He's also a director of finance at Forte GCC Innovative Solutions, which focus on construction, oil and gas and other projects. So that's just the young man we are talking about. He was born 1998, so he's 27 years. If you have to include this, of course, if he includes this year, he will be around 27 or 28 from 1998. So if you're born 2000, that should be 26 years. If one was born in 1999, that will be 27. So he will be 28 years this year. So that's the young man we are talking about. So from the look of things, I know very well that Osborn Lapam Resorts and Hotels is a 5-star luxury resort and hotels, of course, for the name alone. That hotel, I don't know whether he owns it or the father owns it. I'm aware the hotel is in Port Harcourt, River State. So I'm also aware that the hotel itself, if I'm to talk about how and when it was actually constructed, I don't want to talk about much about that, but it's not part of what we're talking about here.
Now, because before we go for the very commercial break, because what we're also looking at is, I think you have dealt with the issue of the high cost of nomination form.
Very disturbing.
30 million.
You know what they did? Let me also explain what they did is to allow governor to handpick those he would want to work with, or those he wishes to handpick. By 30 million, many who have put in a lot of effort in the party for one reason or the other, they will not afford that. How many youths would afford 30 million? A council, a local government council nomination form for 30 million. Not even House of Representatives. Not even House of Representatives. How much is for that of position of governor? For a local council, 30 million. I've said that it is quite dolorous.
So what is this very obsession for political power? Because it seems like we're in an era where you see people who have become very successful in their businesses.
Yeah.
They control trillions of naira, billions of dollars. They have business conglomerates. They are known worldwide for what they do, but they keep on seeking political power. Now, we have also seen politicians who are bringing their sons closer, that by the time they are leaving, their sons will be able to take over from where they stop. This Osborn we're talking about, the freshman from Mahi, from what we gathered, he oversees the father's business interest. So we cannot say that he lack anything or this or that, but they are still seeking political power. what is that thing with the political power? Is it that in Nigeria, political power opens door to whatever you want in life? That's why they are looking for it. And secondly, are we about to run the risk of running dynasty in Nigeria? Because at a point in time, it was the trend of, after serving as a governor, you go to Senate and retire. But this time around, it seems like we are shifting towards politicians grooming their children who can come after them by the time they have retired politically. We'll go for this very commercial break.
All right.
You're listening to Udala Radio, 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
Please listen to this important information on your good health. Do you know that many deaths nowadays are caused by ignorance on drug abuse? Do you know that many males and females now resort to the consumption of unhygienic concoctions for the treatment of various diseases? Do you know that some even take their lab results to traditional healers for interpretation? Now listen, abuse of scientific or traditional drug destroys the body system mechanism and it kills. Consumption of expired, adulterated, substandard and unpasteurized traditional herbal mixture could lead to health complications. So detoxification of the body and restoration of the functional organs is always necessary for your good health.
This message is sponsored by Anti-Drug Abuse Incorporated Headquarters, Annex Sunshine Hospital, number 4 Obanye Street, Onitsha, Anambra State, Nigeria. 08033206819.
Drug abuse is an enemy to your good health. Be warned.
Join Anti-Drug Abuse Health Education every Wednesday by 8:45 a.m. on Udala Radio 104.7 FM Onitsha.
Measles and rubella are deadly diseases. They spread fast, can cause blindness, brain damage, miscarriage, and sometimes death.
Every day, Nigerian children are at risk. But there is good news. The Saints can protect your child. The Anambra State government will conduct a mass vaccination campaign for children 0 to 14 years from 4th to 15th February 2026 to protect children across the state from deadly diseases. Take your child 9 months to 14 years for the measles rubella vaccine today. Complete all routine immunization doses from birth. After the campaign, routine vaccination continues in all health facilities. Vaccines are safe, effective, and paid for by the government. Don't wait. Visit your nearest health facility or vaccination site. Leave no child behind. This message is brought to you by the Anambra State government and partners.
Udala Radio, 104.7 FM. You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, so thank you for staying tuned to the Radio 104.7 FM. You are listening to The Polity, and its time is now 10 minutes past 10 a.m. My name is Franklin Ebek, and I'm with Tony Olisambeki. We are bringing you analysis on developments in the polity. And before we went on that very commercial break, I talked about the question of whether we are running the risk of dynasty in Nigeria, given the way politicians are grooming their children to take after them. And also, why is everybody seeking for political power? Even when you look at people who have succeeded in their businesses, they are doing well, they are well known. What are they looking for in political power, Tony?
You ask what they are looking for. Of course, they want to make sure that it is a dynasty. Power, remember when Wike said, and he told Makinde, when you had your $1 million contract in 1998, you went for contract. I went for power, and today you came back to me for tickets, and which I did not give you at one point, but decided to give you before you became the governor of Oyo State. Political power remains number one as against riches. Just like I said earlier on, it's good that you pointed out the fact that the husband we are talking about, the first son of Dave Umai, he manages the father's businesses outside his own personal business, because that very Osborne La Palm Hotel and Resort, the one we talked about, could be his own business, because the name is as good as his own name. But we know very well that his father has Brass Engineering and Construction Nigeria Limited. And also he has hotel in Oboro, Ebonyi State. The father is also into that hospitality business. The father has petrol stations scattered around Oboro, Abakaliki, and some other areas. I don't know if he has expanded to Abuja. So the father is into oil and gas, and quite a lot of services he has been rendering. And this young man is the one managing all these businesses for his father. Outside that, we know very well he has become a trend currently where politicians, for one reason or the other, try to put in their children into political positions. Of course, we are aware of Sheyi Tinubu, who is gearing himself up for the contest in Lagos. He is getting ready. It has been speculated that the father may see that state to him once Sanwo-Olu's turn comes to an end. You also look at El-Rufai. He has a son in the House of Representatives. He positioned the son while he was the governor. Put him in that very context. We've seen the son. So many people would say that the man or the young El-Rufai has capacity because you have seen his debate. We know very well Ifeanyi Okowa, the daughter Marilyn Okowa Dadamola. She is in State House of Assembly, the other State House of Assembly. Okowa positioned her in that very position while as a governor. We know very well David Mark. I'm aware that his daughter Blexen ran against all odds. We know very well Sule Lamido, the one we are talking about. So there are many of them who have positioned their children in one elective position or the other. So it is a trend for them.
Is it Nigerian thing, an African thing, or is a thing we do see in politics worldwide? Because if you look at Africa now, if you go to Cameroon, you will see that Cameroon's long-serving president Paul Biya, there's this report that he is trying to position his son Frank Biya as his successor. Then if you go to Uganda, Yoweri Museveni is also trying to position his son Muhuze Kainerugaba to become his successor by the time he's done with his seventh term in office.
We are talking about those outside Nigeria, but it's becoming a trend in Africa anyway. We've seen that in Togo, Yadebe family. Remember Yasimba Yademe. You've seen that in many African countries where the father passes the ball to the son. Here in Nigeria, remember, even James Ibori, his daughter is in the other State House of Assembly. I'm also aware that even Bukola Saraki, I think he started with Bukola Saraki. Remember the father, Oluchoba Saraki.
But just for us to take a detour, is it a bad thing though?
It's not a bad thing, but you must allow level playing field. Allow level playing field. Why are you trying to push your son, push your daughter into? It's not a bad thing, but why you do that? Allow a level. Have you ever thought about any son or daughter of politician vying for something and at the end of the day failing to clinch it? They install their daughters and their sons. They coronate them. What we see in a boy state, or what we are going to see, is pure coronation. Osborne will be coronated as the local government boss of Ohozan, and we know very well the funds local government gets. But I wonder if he becomes the local government boss, who will, maybe the father will pass the button to the next son to manage businesses. Who will manage Osborne Lapam Hotels and Resorts in Port Harcourt? Who will manage the Brass Engineering and so many other companies I mentioned. If you look at the level or the ground, it is not level in a point state. For them to have made a form 30 million, is it level? It's not level.
So it's hilly.
That is just that.
Maintenance.
That is, it is. It is. So it is not bad. We've seen in America, we've seen the presidents, we've seen sons of former president becoming president. We saw that. We saw Bush. The father was once a president. beaten by Clinton, and he didn't come back again because he ran for re-election. Clinton beat him. He positioned the son, but his son became the president, but the ground was level. The ground was level. The difference between our own case here and possibly their own case, they usually provide a level playing field. As we speak now, Donald Trump is positioning his sons and daughters to take over. But the system in the United States of America will always subject them to a kind of rigorous process where the ground will level. There is nothing bad. For one, if you are a lawyer, you would want any of your children that has such passion to do exactly, to follow your profession. It is generally good. Remember, politics is not a profession, it's not a career, but there are those who have found career in politics. Good for them. But the point is, provide a level playing field. Even if you want to push your son, push your daughter into politics, do not coronate, do not install. All the people have mentioned here, they installed their sons and daughters into those positions. The ground was never level.
So let's talk about issue of insecurity or insecurity, because if you look at the pages of newspaper this very morning, you will see they reported kidnap of about 150 worshippers in 3 churches in Kaduna State. Reports are saying that this thing happened on Sunday while worshippers were in church. We have heard from an official of CAN saying that it actually happened. We have heard from some residents saying that it actually happened. But Kaduna State government, local government chairman in Kajuru, the police, and some other people are saying that nothing like that happened. They said they were able to mobilize to the scene and they have not been able to document any report of anybody kidnapped. And they are charging anybody claiming that there was kidnapped to name the names. But Khan is saying that they are in the process of documenting that very soon they're going to put out the list of those who were kidnapped. Now, why this is quite interesting, like I said this very morning, it just happened in Nigeria, and maybe we have become used to the story and it does not mean anything to us, but it has significant presence in the media. This very morning, I woke up to a call from South Africa, I mentioned that before, Alexandria of Power FM, based in Johannesburg, and she was asking me that they want me to be on their show to talk about this. It's making headlines for them, and it's making a headline in their African spotlight. Tony, what is happening to Nigeria? And also, I also want you to look into this issue of Ndikwe and Ndekwe. Okay, there was kidnap, there was no kidnap. Who do we now believe in this whole report?
We've got so many reports, just like you mentioned. We are told that sometime around last Sunday, 18th of January 2026, in the Kuminwali community of Fogo Ward, a forested, predominantly Christian area known for banditry and header farmer clashes that armed gunmen, the communities described as bandits with sophisticated weapons, allegedly stormed at least 2 churches during Sunday services around 11:25 a.m. and some report mentioned 3 churches: Evangelical Church Winning All, Ekwa, Cherubim and Seraphim, and also a Catholic church mentioned in some accounts anyway. We are told that the attackers reportedly blocked entrances, fired shots to create panic, forced worshippers out and abducted them into nearby bushes and forests. Well, this fits their normal pattern of banditry, where mass abductions for ransom is widespread. But what we have as a bone of contention, or the contentious issue, is number of victims and accounts, narrations. Looking at what Reverend Joseph John Hayab, CAN Northern Chairman, at first he said that 172 worshippers were initially abducted, that 9 escaped shortly after, leaving about 163 in captivity. He went further to cite information from church elders and local CAN officials like Enoch, Kaura, Kachura, local government CAN chairman, and all that. But some local politicians like state lawmaker Usman Dalami Stingo cited similar numbers, up to about 177 mixing initially with 11 returning, leaving about 168 unaccounted for. These are different accounts because I've seen international outlets, Reuters, BBC, DP, AP, Sky News, etc. They all reported the incidents based on these CAN and local sources, describing it as coordinated attack on multiple churches and possibly persecution against Christians. Groups like International Christian Concern (ICC) went further to frame it as part of ongoing Christian persecution in the region. That's what International Christian Concerns put out in their domain. But there has been this denial and confusion. That is the issue here now. Kaduna State authorities strongly rejected the claims as false and misleading. The Commissioner of State, Kaduna State Commissioner of Police, Muhammad Rabiu, described everything as falsehood spread by conflict entrepreneurs. That's what they call those who are spreading these things. The Commissioner of Police in Kaduna State, Muhammad Rabiu, described these people as conflict entrepreneurs aiming to destabilize the state and undermine peace in Kajuru. Apart from challenging the claimants to provide names, particulars, and evidence of victims, and he said that they have visited their alleged sites. They went on Monday, they went on Sunday. They found no evidence of any attack, abduction, or disturbance. That's what the Commissioner of Police in Kaduna State, Muhammad Rabiu.
So, Tony, now we have contention about whether it happened or not. How do we now put this very contention to rest? Because as it stands now, it's like the words of CAN and some local communities against the words of the government of the day. Because the police and the state government are saying the same thing, while CAN and some residents are saying the same thing. So how do we put this to rest?
Evidence. And the Commissioner of Police has challenged any claimant to provide evidence. He has asked CAN, because in churches, because if you look at these churches, Ekwa, Cherubim, and Seraphim, and even the Catholic Church would also want the Catholic to speak. If you have got members abducted, kidnapped, where you said about 9 escaped, can you provide those 9? Can you allow the media have access to the 9 who escaped and narrate the stories?
It's not 2 days after this was ready to have happened.
Yes.
Why haven't we heard from these very churches up to now?
Many of them have been speaking, just like I said earlier on. Remember, through what they have said, many outlets reported this. Many, I just said Reuters, BBC, DW, AP, Sky News, many of them, even Force, they reported this incident based on these CAN and local sources. They have been speaking.
Yeah, no, what I mean is the church themselves where the incidents were said to have happened, because I've read some of those very reports and I'm looking for where each of the reports quoted the church authorities in the places where, like in the Cherubim and Seraphim that was mentioned, the ECWA that was mentioned, likewise the college that was mentioned. I was expecting that people who are in charge of communication in those areas should have been quoted in the story for us to have the authenticity or even possibly put this thing to rest.
But just like you mentioned, they have spoken to CAN because they are members of CAN. CAN is the umbrella body. Because the church affiliated leaders, they have spoken out. They have spoken out because if you look at those who spoke out, they actually contacted the CAN. That's where the whole statement is coming from, because they are coordinated on the CAN. I'm aware they spoke on their alleged kidnapping of worshippers in Kuminwali, Kajuro. They went and reported the incidents to CAN, and that what prompted CAN to come out to speak. If they had spoken the way you had wanted, maybe nobody would have taken them serious. We know very well that they have such coordination in that very place. And just like I said earlier on, these churches, they say they're open for communication, and Khan is quoting them. Khan is not making up these statements. Khan is quoting these churches, their general overseer, their leaders, their statements. They have taken them into account, and they are citing these statements. But just like we said earlier on, the chairman of the local government has also said nothing like that happened. The Enoch Kaura, not Enoch Kaura. Enoch Kaura is the Khan local government chairman of that very area. But I'm saying that the local government chairman of Kumenwali Kajura, that's Kajura local government, he has come out to also support what police is saying that no such thing. I think Dauda Madaki that's his name, I remember now, Dauda Madaki. And he went further to confirm the on-ground checks, and he said no incidents. And the churches and village head Mandan Zaria and youth leader Bernard Buna all denied anything happened. So when the village head, the youth leader, the local government chairman, the commissioner of police, the state government are denying that nothing happened, then these churches, they are also saying things happened, incidents happened, people were kidnapped. And if you look at the number, it's staggering. You can't talk about 177 or 168 depending on who is making up the accounts, and then neglect it. I thought that what the Nigerian police and the Kaduna state government would have done would have been to investigate, not just coming out outrightly to make denial. Making outright denial points to one thing: if incidents like this were reported to have happened, what do? You allow time for investigation. You don't speak on the surface. So for police to say we visited the site, you visited the site when the alleged incident must have had happened. So did you meet the incident? You did not. So when you meet or when you go back to the site, of course you're going to meet nothing. I had wanted the police to say we have interviewed some worshippers. We have interviewed, the people affected were the worshippers. And the idea is, just like I said, the International Christian Concern, ICC, they are saying that it's ongoing Christian persecution. And remember what Nigerian government paid to a lobbyist company. Hope you're aware. They paid $9 million to a lobbyist company.
Okay, so Tony, now you have mentioned this. I'm going to prop this very one. We go for commercial break. Once we return, we do a quick glossary look at it, and then open the phone lines.
Right.
Because someone who is based in Onitsha here in Anambra State, and people who I had worked with him some time ago, Emeku Mabalase, of course, he was in the news about 2 days ago because of the kind of report that New York Times put out. Now, I'm going to read the headline the way it came out when that very story broke. The headline says, New York Times, this is the kicker, New York Times, how a screwdriver trader in Onitsha influenced Trump's missile strike in Nigeria. And if you read the story is saying that whatever U.S. congressman said about Christian genocide in Nigeria, whatever he said was based on an unverified report, which was put out by Emeku Mabalasi. And based on that the U.S. congressman, took the story of Christian genocide to the U.S. government, and U.S. government began to react. If you go into details of that very report, of course, you see how Emeku Mabalasi was somehow denigrated, said he's a screwdriver trader in Onitsha. Just to make mess or whatever report that might have gone out. And they are saying that what Emeku Mabalasi and his organization did was not based on any known methodology. Rather, it was like a guesswork. That was how they were able to come about the report that they put out. Now, Mabalasi has reacted. Inter-Society has also reacted. Yesterday, they issued a press statement trying to debunk some of the things that were said by New York Times. But something stood out. One, he was able to establish the fact that there was an interview between him and New York Times. But he said that what they put out, there were falsehoods in what they put out, and so many other things that have been said. Now, there's one version of the report this very morning, which I want to read. If you look at the headlines, there's one headline on the cable newspaper this very morning. It says, Inter-Society accuses New York Times of falsifying report says Christian genocide data verified. Then there's one on the Razor online platform. It says falsehood. Hold New York Times responsible if any harm comes to Umar Balassi, family or offices, enter society. Now, from what we have seen so far, Tony, we have seen an ethnic correlation into this whole thing. People are alleging that Umar Balassi and the Igbos are being thrown under the bus. That what the government of Nigeria is doing is that they have gone to pay a lobbyist to plant a story in the New York Times whereby it was printed that the Igbos were the ones who were responsible for whatever genocide brand given to Nigeria, and that the aim is to this is what is now out there in social media. If you go on X, you will see this that is trending. But we'll have to go for this commercial break now.
All right.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
Quality bread, Wendy's bread, for your family breakfast. Wendy's bread, Wendy's bread, Mama, Papa, they like Wendy's bread, Wendy's bread, even children, they like Wendy's bread. Wendy's bread, and in town, Wendy's bread, you get it better, tasty, we go sweet your belly. Wendy's bread, Wendy's
Wendy's bread, tasty bread. You can contact us on our official address, Second Business Park, Enugu Road, GRA, beside Onitsha, Anambra State. We also have another branch at St. Michael Plaza, Atani Road. Also contact us on 070-1149-1571. Wendy's bread, your tasty bread.
Wendy's bread.
Measles and rubella na deadly diseases. Them dey spread fast. They fit cause blindness, brain damage, miscarriage, and sometimes they fit cause death.
Every day, plenty Nigerian pikin dey at risk, but good news don dey o. Vaccine fit protect your pikin. Anambra State government could do big vaccination campaign for all children between the ages of 0 to 14 years from 4th to 15th February 2026 to protect our children from deadly sickness. Carry your pikin from 9 months to 14 years. Come take measles rubella vaccine today. Make sure say your pikin complete all routine immunization wey start from birth. After the campaign, routine vaccination go still dey happen for all healthcare centers. Vaccine dey safe, it dey very effective, and government don already pay for am. No wait go your nearest healthcare center or vaccination point now. Make we no leave any pikin behind o. This message na from Anambra State government and partners.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, so thank you for staying tuned to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Of course, you are listening to The Polity. My name is Franklin Ebekanda. I'm with Tony Olisambeki. So, Tony, let's just take like 2 minutes to talk about this before we open the full lines so that we have the audience joining before we get to wrap up. Yes, I raised issue regarding what New York Times put out against Emeka Balassi and the response he has given and the conversations we're having. The conversations have been, it seems like somebody is being thrown under the bus. It seems that the lobbyist is already doing the work that he was paid to do. That's why we are having what we are having now in New York Times as publications, Tony.
I think the New York Times, I don't know why it did what it did, but the truth remains, just like you said, we don't have much time. We would have taken time to talk about this, but I want to say very well that the New York Times is one of the United States' oldest and most widely read newspapers. In fact, it was first published in 1851, originally as the New York Daily Times. With such reputation, with such level of elitism for a paper to make such publication or discuss that very story that Emeka Umar say that the U.S. government relied on the report. And they went further to cite some of the report that when he was asked question about how did he get these figures, he said that he relied on Google search, and then some of these reports from the victims and the villages, from security sources, that he put these reports together. Not that he visited these areas, that he's based in Onitsha, is a screwdriver salesman, and he attended Open University as if Open University is not a university, and other things that they said. But I'm not saying this. Well, we know very well that the New York Times is owned by the New York Times Company, and also it is controlled by us suspect family, which was a majority of the voting power through Class B. It's publicly traded company, no doubt. But the key thing is knowing very well the Nigerian government paid $9 million to DCI Group, a lobbying firm based in United States of America, to communicate its efforts to protect Christian communities and also to counter narratives of persecutions or Christian genocide. You know what that $9 million is? That contract was signed in December last year, and it was through Nigeria's law firm Asta Legal on behalf of the National Security Advisor. And the lobbyists, I don't know if what they publish on New York Times is part of what we are seeing. So, but outside that, Emeka Babala has given his own side of the story, saying that falsehoods were published. And how can one say that the United States of America relied on such report when we know very well there have been other sources, there have been other reports? Even take away the one coming from Emeka Babala. Are you going to talk about so many other reports that had come before now? The UX did not rely solely on that report for the airstrike in Sokoto on Christmas. That's against what New York Times published. We know very well that the US Africa Command explicitly stated that the strikes were conducted in coordination with Nigerian authorities and at the request of Nigerian authorities. So if they said such, why would you say it was based on such report by Emeka Umar Balasi? That is by the way. And you also look at Nigerian intelligence and military operations, which is a primary operational intelligence, where they have also shared their intelligence. Remember, Nigerian government said that we shared intel, we shared intelligence with United States of America. How then did the New York Times now go back to say that the strike was purely based on Umar Balasi report, where Nigerian government openly admitted sharing intelligence? Right. It's contradiction there.
Our 2 minutes has expired.
Oh, yes, expired. Sorry.
Let's
expired
now. All right. 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6691. Must say that this very report, there's a lot to be said about it, but
so much
we have to bring in callers at this point in time so that we have their own input into the conversation. Good morning.
A wonderful morning to you, Franklin. Senor Sambeki, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm calling from Onitsha.
Go on, DK.
The last report you gave out on Emeka Umar Balasi and the way he sells screwdriver, I wouldn't like, whenever anything happens in this country, they will try to, pitch it to the Southeast. We have that's the way this country sees us. I don't like, the way that report is coming, even with a high reputed newspaper like New York Times. How can they be telling us that the strike is based on one trader from Onitsha or from the East? Knowing fully well what we are going through in Nigeria already, you can do protest anywhere but not in the Southeast. So I don't really like that. And I would love that Emeka Umar Balasi have to come out and make more clarifications. You can't just take credit for what, I don't know whether he has become an agent of the FBI or CIA or the intelligence unit of the US or Nigeria. I don't really know. Or so is someone trying to blackmail the Southeast again, call a dog a bad name in order to hang the dog? So I don't really get it. And we must be very careful because we know where we are in Nigeria and we know how we are being seen. We know how we are treated here, and we can't just come out and begin to say that whoever that attracted the strike comes from the Southeast, whether Umar Balasi or whoever. So they should exempt the Southeast out of it. Donald Trump should go ahead and do his thing the way he loves doing it, and they should exempt the Southeast. And I believe someone somewhere must be insinuating this, because they keep talking about it's because of Biafra. Biafra want to leave Nigeria. That's why Trump is doing that. That's why Trump is not doing that. Before you could say Jack Robinson, you can see the military being deployed down here. So I'm being very careful these days when dealing with on certain issues, especially sensitive one like this.
All right.
Coming to these politicians grooming their sons and daughters to succeed them, I don't have problem with that. Where I have problem is that what legacy have they left for their sons to build on? Is it to continue the looting or being fantastically corrupt? That is the angle I'm coming from, because you cannot change a leopard from its skin. A leopard must always remain a leopard. You don't expect that when you have built your legacy on corruption and looting of funds, buying houses in Florida, and you expect your son or your daughter, when he mount office, that he cannot do worse than that.
Thank you.
So we must be very careful. That's just the angle and the thought. Not just they have the right to contest for any position, but going after their father or their whoever that their mother, they are looting.
All right. Thank you, Deke. Thank you, Deke. By time, I promise you, by the time I get in touch with Mbekumba Balas, of course, I would like us to bring him on air so that he can tell us his story. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Yes, your name?
Franklin, Dr. Udala speaking.
You're welcome.
Good morning to all of you in this place. This is the voice of Chidi Kupuma joining you from work.
Go on.
Yes, looking at that contradictory report, I don't know the kind of policy even our military are indulging in. And that is why in the first, that very first coup in Nigeria, so many military men lost their life as a result of involvement in politics. We don't learn from the history, and that is why the history is repeating itself. When the government and even the military say that if you see something, say something, I thought that they are serious. But you can see that if they are making politics out of everything in Nigeria, anybody that is disputing that report and also that genocidal attack, that person is mischievous, because the evidence is clear. And even America, before they engage in something, they don't rely on hearsay evidence, but they rely on solid or best evidence, because they have gathered their data, or their statistics is the data that they have gathered over the years, up to 16 years of investigation and the data analysis. They come up with a report, solid one. You can't dispute that. The people that are involved, the victims of the attack and everything, are still alive. And some of the Americans have come down to those areas to see things for themselves, despite the report. And they have seen the clear report and the clear evidence of that. So the people, you don't make politics with the human life. There are people that have lost their loved ones, even the properties that some of them, the victims of the attack, are residing here in Anambra State because they have run away from their home, and they are residing here from Benue State, from some people from the Plateau State are all over Anambra State for refuge, and somebody is there doing something contrary. I don't know why. That on the issues of David Umaye's son, I think there is nothing wrong with it. I think because the father is a politician, it's not disadvantage to him if he's serious and prepared for that. Because you know why I'm saying this is that most of the Fourth Republic politicians, you can't even see their children here. If they are here or prepared to serve, and not all this money making or accumulating.
All right, Chidi Chukuma, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
That is why they are.
Thank you.
Maybe that within a very short time.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for understanding. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, my chief speaker, Tony Lisambeki.
You're welcome.
Good morning, Franklin.
Yes, go on, your name?
Honorable Dennis the Mayor, Okutukume JP, Okulola, Otundo, Nauda Nobi. Can I go on?
Yes, go on, sir.
Yes, let me first of all criticize the APC of Ebony State for making just a local government form 30 million naira. Then I blame all this on our don't know what our legislators are doing. How can a person pay 30 million just to protest for, to contest for a local government, just a local government chairman? That brings me to ask you a question. Please, don't miss this. I would like you to explain to us how much is the normal payment for local government chairman in a month? How much is he being paid as a salary for a month? Please, I want you to say something about it. Secondly, all this brouhaha about corruption, and it's high time we tell ourselves simple truth. There's no smoke without fire. Something must happen. Maybe the number must not reach that, but I want to tell you that police is not doing their job. They're supposed to go to that community. Is this people's spirit? The people that they kidnap, did they not have relatives and town people? Okay. They're supposed to go for investigation before they come up to start defending. So, like them to come out, for them to come out and start saying nothing happened, something happened, I believe that.
All right, thank you. Okay, your point has been noted. You can call us on the phone numbers 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6694. Very soon we are going to hit the Facebook page. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Franklin.
Yes, you're welcome on board. Good morning, your name?
Good morning, Magica.
You're welcome.
Mr. Victor, listening from Onitsha.
Okay, go on.
Franklin and Mr. Peter, you have done well on the analysis this morning, especially as it concerns the report coming from America. I know about it very well. I don't know what we can do. And it has been doing. I think they are trying to narrow it down to which they can never succeed. I've read article by Fanny Khaled, am I right?
Yes.
Where he said, whoever believes that is almost insane. That America does not rely on individuals to do anything. And there are reports, just like you said, Nigeria government collaborating with them in some intelligence reports. I've seen the tweet of Fanny, former senator, and Gumi as well. All these are just mere publications. They also said they tell the truth. But they're going to Kaduna. You know, Kaduna South, back from the end of Niger State. I mean, from Abuja, that's Juma Rock, towards Baghdad Gulf. Somewhere there you have the boundary between Kaduna and Niger State. And from that angle, straight, they are all Kaduna South. And when you enter Abuja towards Nasarawa, going to Jos, Nasarawa boundary, they call Maraba Jos. It's a boundary between Kaduna South again, which is purely Christian dominated environment. It's a vast land. I think the government is not going to tell the truth. If you go back and tell people, because information I gathered, we're on the air, I don't want to say it. They are suppressing information of such things. The kind of environment that thing covered, they cannot come and tell us there's no smoke, there's fire. Something is happening. Okay. Let them tell us, instead of rushing to the public, by tomorrow now, they will say maybe one person or two person is speaking. I'm telling you from, I've caught some of the bad here. By this evening, you will feed me back on what actually happened. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for joining. So let's quickly go to our Facebook page now. And John Awoke Ezude, okay, he says he's enjoying the program from his house. Okay, thank you for following us. Dr. Mr. Lebra from Owere says, Nigerians have mourned for so long. For how long shall we mourn? Now it's time to stop mourning. For the period of mourning is a moment of no creativity, no activity, time for dissipation of energy. Job said, if I keep quiet, the grave will be my home. This generation can no longer be guilty of quietness, numbness, clear-footedness, and self-resignation. Every Nigerian has an input to making the enhancement of Nigeria. And the Uken Nayakri is Chinagorom from Awada says, on Malami issue, what goes around comes around. He went to Kenya to kidnap Nnamdi Kanu and tag him a terrorist. Why he is the main terrorist and sponsor allegedly. Okay. Also, Francis Ndamani, watching from Magons in Enugu State, says, okay, I'll keep up the good work. We thank you for always following us. And Zekwe Celestine says, on the alleged abduction of 150 worshippers, I want to believe that when people play politics with lives of innocent people, it simply means the government at the center is weak, or probably they are aware of what is going on. Emmanuel Anyanwu says he's watching from Gongoro. Okay, or rather, okay, he's watching from Mbano. Yes, I think he's known also as Gongoro. Okay. Kevin C, thank you for following. Then Anose Charles Ikechukwu says they always use Igbos as scapegoats. The only reason they are involving an Igbo man in that airstrike is because of 2027 and the P2B. Maazingo Riochibaro Musnachi says it's quite disturbing and hypocritical on how a Ebonyi State APC has intentionally skyrocketed the local government chairmanship council nomination form. Now the question is, how many youths can afford such a man to contest? Ndio Hazara have to forget about it because Osborne will be enthroned on August 22nd. So Chunwe, that's the way he ended it. He posted from FM Onitsha. And the Francis Naman also says government at all levels should collaborate and come up with measures towards tackling numerous challenges facing the country, rather than shifting more attention to 2027 general election. So maybe we'll take one more call, and that will be all. Just one more call. It's going to be quick. It's going to be just within 1 minute, and then we'll take our summary for today's conversation. So if you become the lucky one, we take that very call. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning.
Yes. Good morning.
Thanks for taking my call.
Good morning.
Sorry, good morning.
You're welcome.
I'm rather interested about this. You said people bringing their children to take over. It's always been. But the irony of it all is by the time you say Jack, some of the children might have fizzled out. It's so saying, yeah, watch and see. It's always been there. And we must avoid that. And then this Igbo thing coming up like this last comment is not good for us. We must avoid being entangled into anything whatsoever. And we must avoid being entangled into Malami's matter, except if we want to talk about it with the seriousness it deserves, because we hurt the Igbo ethnic nationality so much that you don't even know where to start. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
All right. Okay. Thank you. So, Tony, we have to take our summary, but before then, there's a question that was asked by the caller from Nobi. I think Ide from Nobi, right? He was asking about the remuneration for local government chairman. Perhaps he wanted to do a comparison to know why somebody is going to pay 30 million naira.
And we know very well that in Nigeria, these figures, they vary. We talk about monthly allocation for local government these days. I think it's between 500 million to 700 million, depending on the population, depending on some factors. So it's not fixed, depending on also the sales made within a month and the money shared from the consolidated revenue account. It depends on all these things, but invariably between 500 million to 700 million. These are factors that determine what a local government gets. That's monthly FAC allocation. Of course, they also generate revenue. They get revenue from local transactions and other things and levies. That is another thing. Then they talked about their salary. They have allowances. Are you talking about salary? Are you talking about allowance? But their basic salary, put everything together, should be about, put everything together, it should be about 500,000 or thereabouts. On average, if you put these things together, that it also comprises some allowances, but they have furniture allowance, house allowance, and other allowance. That is annualized.
To summarize this,
because they have security votes. That's where I'm coming from.
Because you know what, in Enugu State, there was something that happened in Enugu State. Former Commissioner for Information, the one we all know, our colleague Akezaka, he resigned his position as a local government as a commissioner to become the chairman of the local government in his area.
You know what I mean? Being a chairman of a local government is better than being a member of State House of Assembly if you are interested in money. A local government chairman is executive chairman. He has budget. He appropriates. He executes. He has security votes. And sometimes the security votes could be as much as 5 million or 6 million. And the security votes use the money to make sure there is no breakdown of security in your domain. It's something they enjoy. It's one of the things that entice. I don't know if it has increased from what it is. And there are so many things they can afford. They're in charge of the local government. They're in charge of different, in state level, we call it ministries. In local government level, we call it departments. Department of this, department of that. So they coordinate a lot. They have task force that go around for this levy, for that levy, the IGR. There's so much. But if you're a member of legislature, you know what it means. You're entitled to your car, entitled to your this thing. Those are entitlement and their salary and allowance. But local government, it is open. It is actually open. They have budget they work with. So they have council. So there's so much money there, if you ask me, in our own context.
All right. So on that very note, we end today's conversation. We thank you for joining. Maybe on a good day too. This that very report that came from the New York Times, we dwell more on it because there's a whole lot to be drawn out of that very report that came from the New York Times. Thank you, Tony. My name is Franklin Ebeka. Thank you all for listening. Good morning.